Hello and welcome to Emma's ESL English. So we are returning to a similar theme as yesterday. We are talking about countable and uncountable, but this time we're using the word variety. Variety is a little tricky. My students said this week there wasn't many variety. And again, similar to yesterday, I knew that wasn't quite right, but I didn't know why it wasn't quite right. So I've had a bit of a think about it, and this is the problem. The word variety can be countable or uncountable. Thank you, English, for being so annoying. If we're talking about something negative, then we'd be more likely to make it uncountable. For example, there wasn't much activity. But if we're talking about the positive, or something that we know has many varieties, like plants, for example, then we would add an S and use many instead. So it would become, there are many varieties of plants. This is one of those times when English is not really your friend. It's not very helpful. Okay, countables and uncountables. There is a stress-free or less stress option, and that is lots of or a lot of. This works for almost any countable or uncountable noun. If you replace the much or many with lots of or a lot of, then it can eradicate this problem of is it countable or uncountable. So whenever you're not sure, and you're like, is it much, is it many, what do I do? Just use lots of or a lot of, and that works. So you can use it for positives, negatives, and questions. So let me give you some examples. So for this case, we would say, there wasn't a lot of variety. Or we could say, there are lots of varieties of flowers. Or even, is there a lot of variety? So see, we can use it positive, negative, and questions. You can either use a lot of or lots of for these. The only thing to remember is if you're using so a lot of, then no S. But if you're using lots of, then you need the S and no A. That's the main thing to remember. Okay. So if we don't want to use variety, we could also use kinds. There are many kinds of plants. However, this also, of course, there are challenges. So let me see how the sentences change. There aren't many kinds of plants. There are many kinds of plants. Are there many kinds of plants? So instead of variety, we can use kinds. However, if we use kinds, we've got to remember that it's always plural, right? It's got an S on the end. And also, I would say that we're less likely to use lots of if we're using kinds. Are there lots of kinds of plants? Grammatically, we can do it. It does work. Kind of sounds like a kid's talking though. I think it's just the level of the language. So I think as a native speaker, I would have a tendency to say, are there a lot of varieties of plants, or are there many kinds of plants, rather than just both of those together. So I would use either lots of or kinds. But if you get stuck, remember, it doesn't really matter what kind of countable or uncountable you're using. Lots of can work with. This is really handy for things like time, liquids, money, things that are frustratingly both countable and uncountable. So when you're not sure, is this the time that it's countable or is this the time that it's uncountable? Then you can use lots of, and it just gets around that problem. You don't have to worry about it. If you are thinking about time now, if I've got you all panicking about time, don't panic. If you go back, we've got 2 other episodes talking about countable, uncountable nouns and specifically time. So you can go to 12, episode 12. When we're giving an example of something, we might say most of the time. So episode 12 is helping you work out with most of the time, how you make that structure. And episode 22 is time as a countable and uncountable noun, because it changes. So episode 22 or episode 12. If you have more questions about countable and uncountable, just let me know. You can email me at emmaseslenglish@gmail.com, or you can put a comment anywhere where you can leave comments, or you can head over to the blog at emmaseslenglish.com, and the blog is there. You can see all of this written down. All right, tomorrow we are doing idioms of the sunshine.